Now, a story that is major news here in New York City. Luigi Mangione, he's the 27-year-old who has been accused, and he is currently being held, accused of not only stalking, but gunning down and murdering the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson. That happened a year ago today. Today is the 1-year anniversary. What is going on in New York City, which started on Monday, is a pretrial hearing. His lawyers are in court, and this is pretty much standard operating procedure for any court case, especially a big one, and especially a murder case. His lawyers are in court, and what they're trying to do is have some of the evidence that investigators have gathered since he was arrested a year ago, and have that evidence thrown out. They do not want it allowed and presented when his trial eventually begins. So that's what they're arguing. It started on Monday. They are in court again today. And my colleague Lisa Evers is outside the courthouse there. And she's going to be, hey Lisa, thanks so much. So you're outside criminal court there in Lower Manhattan. Our colleague Michelle Ross has been covering this on the inside. She's inside the courtroom and she's communicating what's going on inside the courtroom. But do me a favor, Lisa, bring us up to speed right now about what's happening so far today.
Well, Linda, so far today, this is day 3 of this pretrial hearing. There was no court yesterday. Luigi Mangione sat at the defense table with a little bit less clean shaven than he was earlier in the week, paying close attention to everything that was going on. There was more testimony from Pennsylvania police officers. This is all around the time of that arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania, because what happened there is key to whether or not some of the very important evidence is going to be brought in. And Linda, we've just been joined by my colleague, Michelle Ross, who's been in the courtroom. Michelle, thanks so much for coming out. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And it started off a little slow today. The body-worn camera footage that was played on Tuesday was replayed again today from a different perspective, but eventually it did get a little more interesting. We did actually see a ticket, a Greyhound bus ticket, purchased for December 4th, which is a year ago today,
right,
and the anniversary of Brian Thompson's killing. And the Greyhound ticket, the bus went from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh.
And then in terms of this whole issue, you were tweeting at MROS News about the body cam video that they were showing, like snippets of it. It was kind of hard to get like a chronology of it. But what was this whole business about his mother?
Yeah, so we couldn't hear what the question that was being asked of his mom, but then when I guess they asked for spelling, and then the police officer said, "Is that your mother?" And he said yes, and then they asked for more information and like her address, for example, and he wasn't giving it. He kind of hesitated, and the police officer said, "You know, we need that information in case something happens to you, in case you die. We need to notify her." And then that's when he eventually gave the address. So we don't know what question it was that sparked that, but his mom did come up in this.
And then in terms of his demeanor today, how does it compare? Yesterday, on Tuesday, he looked really tired. Monday, he looked all chipper and clean shaven and ready to go. Was even smiling.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty neutral today. He's probably just, sick and tired of this for dragging on. And apparently we have maybe a total of 20 witnesses that are going to be heard at the stand. So I think it's just waiting for this to pass on. He was actually really engaged in writing down notes and looking at the body-worn camera footage.
All right. And we spoke with Seth Zuckerman, who's a former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney. He said that this number of witnesses is very unusual for a pretrial hearing.
Right. It almost feels like it's the actual trial. So who knows how long this is going to take. I initially heard 5 to 7 days, but it feels like it's going to take longer than that, especially if it's going to take one person per day, as it has been yesterday and today.
Which is crazy.
Absolutely.
Crazy. And then in terms of in the courtroom, tell us about that. Were there any supporters in there for him today? Or?
Yeah, I would say there were actually maybe more supporters than press there today. Today there were a couple of rows open for press. The first day is always the busiest, as you know, but I would say that there were more supporters than press.
Okay. Let me ask Linda. Linda, do you have any questions?
Is Michelle able to hear me, or do I need to tell you and you have to tell her?
No. Tell me right now, because she literally just ran out of court. We didn't have time to conference her in.
All right. Yeah, they broke for lunch apparently. Okay. Ask her, how many witnesses have taken the stand so far? Because this is day 3. Like you said, they weren't in court yesterday. How many have taken the stand so far, and how many more are we expecting?
Okay, so Linda's question is about the witnesses. So it looks like about 3 so far, like 1 a day, right? That we've had.
Well, the first
there
day
were a
went
couple,
by,
right?
Yeah, the first day went by pretty fast. There were 5 on the first day, but Tuesday there was 1. It was just this officer, Officer DeWeiler, and then today is another officer from Altoona. Both of them from Altoona. So we're hoping that after lunch that it's a new person, but there still hasn't been cross-examination.
And then is there any way of knowing at this point how many witnesses there will be, or is this kind of like it's like some of the trials is a rolling? It's a flux of, or what do you call it, a moving situation?
Well, in the motion that was filed by the defense, it was probably just 7 on the prosecution side and then 2 on the defense side. But, some rumblings, as reporters, we talk up there. One person heard it was over 20, as high as 28. So, yeah, we'll see. It feels like an actual trial that's happening, going so slow, but hopefully it's not that high.
No, that's crazy. And Linda, the Seth Zuckerman, the attorney we spoke with at noon, he said that usually these pretrial hearings take a couple of days, and that's it. Maximum, and that he thinks because of all the scrutiny that's going to be on this, and Luigi Mangione, we saw earlier in the week, Mark Agnifilo, who was Diddy's attorney, was in the courtroom. Was he there today?
Yeah, he's there. He's not the lead attorney. Karen is, so.
Right, his wife.
Yeah,
Karen Friedman.
Exactly, but he did do cross-examination for one of the corrections officers that were assigned to monitoring Luigi Mangione, and he did a good job during that part. So he's not the lead attorney, but he still has a good hand in this.
And he's there so far in court, like every single day.
Exactly, and so is Jacob Kaplan, another defense attorney on the team, and also I didn't see today, but Tuesday and Monday, Thomas Dickey, who is Luigi Mangione's lawyer in Pennsylvania.
Right, the one that was the very colorful one.
Right, very animated one. Yeah.
From Pennsylvania, because he came out and he was making some statements.
Right. He's like a big shot lawyer back there in Altoona.
And he was making the whole thing. So the other issue is how much, if this backpack evidence, if the backpack is ruled inadmissible,
right,
then how much damage could that do to the case? The lawyer we spoke with, Seth Zuckerman, said it's not going to kill the prosecution's case, but it's going to be, I shouldn't use that word, but it's not going to be like a fatal blow to the prosecution's case, but it's going to hurt them a lot not to have that.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a win for the defense, because just even watching the body-worn camera footage, there's so much information in there and a lot that they unpack physically and figuratively. They literally unpack in the body-worn camera footage. You hear an officer say there's a gun in here. So, and it's alleged that is the murder weapon. So,
right.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
Definitely. Linda, back to you.
Was that 3D gun. So this was a gun that he allegedly made, and that's the gun that he used as the murder weapon. Also his reported manifesto, which was quite lengthy. So they were both in that backpack. And if that evidence is thrown out, you've been talking to lawyers this week, what would that actually do to their case? It almost seems like you just said a moment ago that it would be a major blow because you've got the weapon and you've got the manifesto basically saying the reason that he ended up killing the CEO of United Healthcare.
Well, remember, they're also going to have, yes, it would be a major blow for the prosecution, but they're also going to have ballistics. They're going to have the bullet. They're going to be, the NYPD has, I've been in that crime lab where they analyze bullets. They have a tremendous ability to trace bullets, track bullets. They can tell from markings on bullets what kind of gun they were used. And some of these 3D guns have made their way around. It's not just somebody, it's not like it sounds like a disposable gun, but sometimes they get made and then they're used in other crimes. They also are going to have a lot of video surveillance for him too,
right,
in terms of putting things together and like a link analysis of what's going on. So Linda's question was about the evidence.
Yeah, and on the ballistics, it's also alleged that it was written deny, depose, delay. These are words that are commonly used apparently in the healthcare industry to delay claims, to not reimburse patients. So yeah, but as far as looking at the ballistics, you're 100% correct.
But Linda, it will be a blow for the prosecution because they also the DA was quoted in one article I read talking about that there was the detailed plan of how he was going to get to the CEO was also in that notebook with what they're calling the manifesto.
So it was a timeline,
there's a lot there,
timeline
but,
of
there's
what he
a lot more
wanted to do.
witnesses. Yes, but they'll have it. Remember, they're going to have a timeline. Even though he was very good at concealing his movements, they're going to have a timeline of him of his movements, of the actions, of they're going to be able to pinpoint a lot more than what I think we know at this point.
Well, you know what's interesting
Linda?
too? There's a lot of surveillance video and pictures when, and again, it's alleged to be him, Luigi Mangione, inside the cab. Remember that surveillance picture which showed he had a black
Right.
mask on, but you could clearly see that he's got the dark hair and the big bushy dark eyebrows. So there's that surveillance video, and they can also track the time that he was in that. There was also, and didn't he jump on a bike and drive, ride that bike way up north? Wouldn't there
An
be video
e-bike.
of that? Yeah, an e-bike. And then he ended up getting on a bus way up in Upper Manhattan, and that's the bus that he ended up taking to. Did he go to Pennsylvania right away? Because they also have surveillance video of him, I think, on multiple buses going to multiple locations.
Okay, so Linda's talking about the timeline, which is kind of on the it's kind of, we're kind of doing this on the fly because
Yeah.
he allegedly does the shooting. He jumps on the e-bike, then he's in a cab,
Right.
and then there's the hostel, right? Is that the next thing, the Upper West Side?
I don't know if he
What do you think?
returned yet to the hostel. So after he
Or the-
gets in the cab, I know that he left the hostel obviously in the morning, allegedly, to get down to the Hilton Hotel. But when he leaves, it's unclear what happens after he gets out of
Right.
the cab. Yeah, and then but as far as the timeline, they did show today in court a Greyhound bus ticket dated for December 4th. And it says on it 10 p.m. to leave Philly, arrival in Pittsburgh at 11:55.
So that was the other thing too. He didn't just go from Linda. This was the other thing that was interesting too. He didn't just go from New York straight to Altoona across the
Right.
George Washington Bridge and go there. He went to Philly and then from Philly to Altoona,
Yeah,
right?
apparently that's I think what's trying to be introduced now. And then in addition to that Greyhound ticket, there was also another ticket that said SEPTA key on it, and I think the SEPTA is in Philly,
that's their transit mass
in
transit
Philly,
system.
right? And
yeah.
it said on it, it had the date 12/4, December 4th, 1:06 p.m. So I think that may have been the receipt at 1:06. That's when he purchased the Greyhound ticket, or SEPTA, got on the SEPTA at 1:06, and then eventually got to the Greyhound station in Philly for a 10 p.m. Leaving time, departure time.
Exactly. And Linda, remember too that part of Midtown Manhattan too. There's a ton of cameras all the way up.
Oh,
You know,
everywhere.
through Columbus Circle, around the West Side, there, everywhere. So I'm sure the investigators have a lot more evidence like that we haven't seen yet.
Right. And you know what's hard to believe, guys, is that this is actually the 1-year anniversary. We have been reporting on this story. It was a year ago today that CEO was gunned down.
Yes. And this today being a year to the day
Right.
of when this all happened.
Right, and it's crazy to think that it's already been 1 year, and how much information we still don't really know, and how slow this process is. But it's just reflective, I think, of the American justice system. So
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Plus, he has all these cases. You have the Pennsylvania case, which
Right.
kind of on the back burner. The feds are there.
right.
Ready to
But
vote?
I think this will be
First.
First,
Yes,
yeah, exactly. And maybe in the spring, if I could take my best guess, but that's we'll know at the end of this hearing.
Yeah.
We'll get a date. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just
Probably
going.
get a date. Who knows?
Yeah, Lisa, I was just going to ask you guys about that. If we have any idea of when the trial is scheduled to begin, because I mean, if it turns out that what Michelle is hearing, that there could be as many as 20 or 28 witnesses in total, this pretrial hearing could be going on for 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Right. And then you run into the holiday. There's going to be a holiday break.
Right.
And then over New
Yeah.
Year's, and then there's the
Yeah.
holidays where the courts close.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they have to deal with the judge's schedule. Will it be a different judge? Will it be this judge? There's a lot of question marks, but we're following it very closely. Michelle's been doing an amazing job inside the courtroom, giving us the information, and we'll keep getting it out as much as is available.
Okay.
Linda?
Hey, guys, thanks so much. Lisa Evers, Michelle Ross. I know Michelle's got to get back into court. They're on a lunch break until 2 o'clock. But thank you guys both so much for bringing us up to date on this really important story. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.